Hello and welcome to Penguin TV. It is recorded by George Efelis, aka Whiffy Penguin, and you can follow me on Twitter at Whiffy Penguin. Penguin TV is hosted by PureMTGO.com and sponsored by MTGOTraders.com. Get an 8% discount off all orders over $50 when paying with PayPal or credit card. And you can check out CapeFearGames.com and get an extra 20% off when trading paper for digital. Enjoy the videos. Hey, so we're here with Delver of Alexandria, or what I am referring to as D.O.A. Delver of Secrets, Library of Alexandria. So there we go. And it's actually kind of a nifty little play on words there, because this guy is delving for secrets, and where better to find secrets than in the largest library in the known world. So this is a tempo/Drago deck. Having access to 4 libraries is definitely a pretty crazy ability. And this is the first deck that I've played with that I've actually been impressed with the libraries. So let's take a look at the mana base. We've got 4 basic islands, and then 2 underground seas and 5 fetch lands. The reason for this is we really only have Demonic Tutor and Vampiric Tutor that require colored black mana in the main deck, and then in the sideboard we've got a couple of Yixlid Jailers and Leyline of the Voids that are black. So having 4 islands is a pretty strong mana base against workshop decks too, where you just don't even need the black mana. Following up the islands, we have Lotus Petals, which help when we get our Nutso Library of Alexandria hands. Probably the best hand that you can have is on the draw, Library, Lotus Petal, Delver of Secrets. This allows you to play land, draw an extra card, and still get out Lotus Petal Delver, turning on Library for the second turn. Following up the libraries, we have 4 Wastelands and a Strip Mine, and this is part of the tempo aspect, especially when you can go turn 1 Delver of Secrets, turn 2 Wasteland or Strip Mine. And then we've got the Lotus Petals, which just help at accelerating and are really good with Library. And I've grouped up our counterspells a little differently than I normally do. We are playing 16 spells that counter other cards. And starting on their first turn, we can Mental Misstep and Force of Will for 8 free counterspells. Starting on our first turn, we have access to 4 Spell Pierce, 1 Spell Snare, 1 Steel Sabotage, and 2 Annul. Annul is really our only out to Oath of Druids, other than counterspelling Oath of Druids with a Force of Will or a Spell Pierce. So, and they also have really good game against the workshop decks as well. Pretty much a counterspell for any spell they play. Following up all of our counter magic, we've got Delver of Secrets, which flips a large number of times. There are 4 Delvers, 4 Snapcasters, 4 Lotus Petals, so that's 12, and then 20 lands. There are 28 instants or sorceries in this deck to flip Delver. And with Brainstorm, you can flip him a little bit more consistently than you can in Standard. So we've got Delver, and turn 1 Delver really is the allure of this deck. Being able to play him and then protect him as he swings for 3 each turn, and disrupting with Spell Pierces and Wastelands and such, is really a good way to go about getting this deck out there. Following up the Delver, we've got our card draw. There's 4 Brainstorm, which help with Delver and are just great at digging. But then there's Gush, and you may look over here and only see 6 islands in the deck, but let me tell you, being able to gush from 3 or 4 cards and turn on Library is pretty good. Even if you draw all blanks with the Gush, say you draw 2 lands with Gush, having 7 cards in your hand for Library is no joke. And it's a pretty good card. I didn't give it as much respect as I thought I needed to while I was playing in the event, but I saw the merits of it after I had discarded a few late into a game. And then we've got Snapcaster Mage, which really only gets counterspells back, but it turns our 16 counterspells into 20 counterspells. Because we can rebuy the mental missteps and the spell pierces and annuls pretty easily. Also, we can rebuy Steel Sabotage, which helps us get around Blightsteel Colossus and Tinker. Following up the Snapcasters, we have our little utility package. 2 Dismembers. In the original deck that I ported over from X-Scorpio, he had 3 Dismembers and no Vampiric Tutor. I decided that I really wanted the Vampiric Tutor main deck and cut a Dismember for it. And then there's a Demonic Tutor. Snapcaster Maging either of these 2 cards is also very good, as that just pretty much lets you get either a library or a gush, depending on how many cards you need in your hand, or a piece of counter magic just to lock up the game. Moving down to the sideboard, against the Workshop matchup, we've got an Energy Flux, 2 Hurkyl's Recalls, and 2 Annuls. On top of our 2 Annuls and Steel Sabotage and other main deck counter spell magic. Against Fish and Snapcaster decks, we have Old Man of the Sea and Dismember to try and take away their blockers and attack them with them. And then against Dredge, we've got a healthy amount of 4 Leylines and 3 Ixalids. Counting the Demonic and the Vampiric and the Mental Missteps and Spell Pierces, it should be pretty good games in Game 2 and 3. You're set up pretty well as long as you can mull into an early Ixalid Jailer or an Upkeep Leyline. You should have the counter spells to get there, especially the only bad side I can see happening is if, say, for instance, you side out your Dismembers or whatnot, and they start to go the aggro plan and block your 8 guys. How do you win? I'm not sure. So that's it for the Delver of Alexandria, aka D.O.A. I'll see you guys for round 1.